you're all really well. I'm Lucy for those of you that don't know me, and if you do know me, welcome back to my channel. You may have noticed that I am in a different setting today. I'm actually in my sister's conservatory. Kindly let me use it because we are having some decorating done and I didn't really want to sit and film videos while somebody was painting my room. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my top tips and advice for fussy eaters. Now, I don't want to sit here and say to you that this is like a miracle worker and that everything that I've done has dramatically changed the way Harry eats and he now eats everything, because he really doesn't. This is still very much a work in progress, but I feel like we are finally getting somewhere. So I just wanted to share a few of my tips and things that we have been doing to try and get a very fussy 3-year-old to eat. So just a little bit of background on Harry and to sort of give you an idea of how fussy he is. He doesn't really eat any fruit or vegetables like at all. He really doesn't. I mean, he will eat a banana, not even a whole one. He'll probably eat half at the max. And that's probably about it. He goes to his childminders and he seems to eat all the fruit and all the vegetables, but when he's at home he will not touch fruit and he won't eat very much vegetables either. I don't think he has ever really been a good eater. Even when he was weaning, he was, I wouldn't say he was a fussy baby, but he knew what he liked and what he didn't like. I did a lot of my own purees and I would hide a lot of vegetables in those and he would eat them fine. But he sort of I would say it started when he was about 1.5 and he just decided that all he wanted to eat was toast and beige food. And I think, like most mums, I will hold my hands up and admit that I just wanted him to eat, so I would just let him have what he wanted. If he wanted to eat bread and toast and crisps and what else, like brioche and biscuits all day, then I kind of would let him, because I was just so terrified that he would just completely stop eating and be really ill. So I just thought, I'm just gonna let him eat what he wants, they all go through it, and we'll come out the other side. When Harry hit 3, I realised that he was still eating pretty much the same things. Now, like I said before, at his childminders, he seems to eat everything that she gives him pretty much. So I know that he hasn't got any sort of sensory issues with food. It's not like a serious problem. He is just generally being a little pickle and trying to get away with murder. So when he turned 3, I decided that enough was enough and I was really gonna crack down and start being a lot more strict on snacks and meal times and all of that stuff, because I am not a fussy eater and it really stresses me out when people are fussy. I'm really sorry if you're fussy, I don't mean to offend you, but I just don't get it. I love food, I'm such a foodie. I love trying new things, I love to eat healthy. So I just can't understand why my son doesn't want to. That might sound really silly, but I just don't really get it. And there are some things in his diet that he really loves. Like, he loves going to Wagamama's and having chili squid. Like, fussy eaters don't eat chili squid, right? But Harry loves chili squid, maybe because it's beige. And he loves olives, but then he won't eat like a sausage. It's really strange. So anyway, I'm not really a fussy eater. Scott's not particularly a fussy eater, maybe a bit more than me. And I just wanted meal times to be less stressful. I wanted to be able to cook one meal and dish it out for the 3 of us, and it wouldn't get thrown in the bin at the end of the day. I hate wasting food as well, I really hate it. I'm just gonna share with you some of the things that we have done and tried and seem to be working when it comes to mealtime. So my number 1 tip is to cut down on snacks, or even just cut them out altogether. I find that Harry is a very much a snacker. So instead of eating a meal, he prefers to eat little and often, which is a little bit like me, and there's not really anything wrong with that. But the snacks I was giving him, I've realised were probably too much, and probably not really the right things. So snack times, we try to keep him just having a snack in the afternoon now. I used to find that in the mornings he would have his breakfast and then half an hour later he would want a snack. and then half an hour after that he'd want another snack. And by the time he'd had a couple of snacks, it was then lunchtime. And then when it came to lunchtime, he wasn't really eating his lunch because obviously he'd had breakfast and tons of snacks all morning. So by lunchtime he was pretty full and he didn't really want to eat. So then he wouldn't really eat his lunch, but obviously he'd be hungry like an hour or two later, so then he'd have more snacks. And then it would just all sort of go around in this vicious circle. It would get to dinner time and obviously he wasn't hungry because he'd had loads of snacks again. So it was just going round and round and round. He was just snacking, snacking, snacking. So I just decided to cut it out. And now when Harry asks for a snack, he is allowed a piece of fruit or some dried fruit. I don't mind him having dried fruit, even though I know they can be quite high in sugar, or crackers with cheese. Just something small but not too filling or carby, just something that's going to keep him going. He's allowed a smoothie if he likes. I really like giving him smoothies because that's one way of getting like fruit and vegetables into him. So yeah, I would say you need to cut down on snacks. Either have one snack mid-morning and one snack mid-afternoon, or one snack in the morning and nothing in the afternoon, or the other way around, or just cut them out altogether and stick with the 3 meals a day. My second tip is to cut down on portion sizes, and I actually got this tip from my lovely friend Jules. I think she made a video on fussy eating quite a while ago that kind of inspired me to get on the kind of get a little bit strict with Harry. So she said that she cut down on her portion sizes with her son Josh. I have found that since putting a lot less on Harry's plate, he seems to be eating a lot more. He won't generally ask for more, but I realised that perhaps the portion sizes I was giving him were a little bit too much for his size. Pasta, for example, I would probably give him a portion about the size of my palm, and that doesn't really sound like a lot, but if you think about it, when you eat pasta, it is really filling. Like usually after 5 or 6 mouthfuls, I'm actually quite full. So obviously his tummy is probably like a quarter of the size of mine, so he really doesn't need to eat that much. And I would rather that he ate everything on his plate and there wasn't anything going to waste, rather than giving him a really big portion and him picking at it for like 5 seconds and then it all getting thrown in the bin. I think sometimes when you give a child quite a full plate of food with a lot of variety and just a lot of stuff, they are just kind of overwhelmed and a bit put off by it. So I'm actually the other way around. I quite like my plate spilling with food and loads of variety, but that's just an adult thing, I think. But for kids, I just think if you're going to overwhelm them with too much on one plate, they're just not going to be interested. They're going to look at it and think, oh my god, I've got to eat all of this and it's going to be a big battle. I'm just not going to bother. My next tip is a really, really important one, and this is the thing that I feel like makes the most difference to our meal times, and it is just don't make a big deal out of it. So it works both ways. So don't put a plate of food down and be like, oh my god, it looks so delicious, this looks yummy, because it automatically makes your child think, why are they doing that? Why are they making such a big deal? They're over sort of exaggerating how they are. They obviously just want me to eat this. I'm not going to eat it because they're stubborn little buggers. So just don't make a big deal, but at the same time, don't put it down and be like, right, you've got to eat all of that or you don't get anything else. Just don't make a big deal. We literally get Harry to sit up on the table and I give him his plate of food and walk away. I don't really say anything, or I'll just say, here's your dinner, and I walk off. And sometimes he says, mummy, I don't want it, or he'll kick off and have like a major tantrum, and I just say, that's okay, just get down, you can come back to it later, don't worry about it, but there's nothing else. And usually that results in tears, a meltdown. Sometimes he'll just get down and he's like, okay, and he just isn't bothered, and in that case I just think he's maybe not hungry. But quite a lot of the time now, he will sit there and probably have a little bit of a huff and a sulk, but eventually he will eat it. Or even if he has a tantrum, he seems to come back 5-10 minutes later, even half an hour later, and he asks for me to warm it up and he will eat some of it. So I just think that by not making a big deal out of it, but also sticking to your guns, you're sort of showing them that you're not going to budge, but you're also not going to make them eat it. You're not going to force them to eat it. And I just find that that really works. I don't know if that's like reverse psychology, but it just seems to really work. Really sorry if the lighting's gone funny. I'm in my sister's conservatory, so it's really light in here when the sun's out, and the sun's just gone behind a cloud. The next tip is another really good one, and another thing that I think's really been helping us, and that is getting them involved in cooking. Harry really loves cooking. I love cooking, so I cook most things from fresh, actually pretty much everything from fresh unless we're having it takeaway. So I just prop him up on the side with me. I'll give him a really blunt plastic knife for him to play with, cutting some courgette or broccoli or something, and 9 times out of 10 he will pick up the food and bite it, even if it's raw. Obviously I don't give him raw chicken or any bad raw foods, but he will take a bite of a raw bit of broccoli and he's like, oh, that's raw, not very nice, and I'll tell him, I'll say, right, we need to cook that and then it will taste nice, and he often will put it in the boiling water or whatever, or if I'm steaming it, and then he will try it afterwards. He's really got into carrots lately, so whenever I'm peeling carrots, I will let him hold the knife with me, supervised, and I'll help him push down on it, and we do like the chopping, and he loves doing all the chopping, and he says chop, 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 and then once we've chopped the carrots, he will normally take 2 or 3 sticks and he will eat them. So that is one way to get a little bit of vegetables into him, even if he's not actually eating it with his meal, because we want our kids to grow up and be healthy. We want them to be not overweight. We want them to be eating a variety of foods. We really want to get our kids eating really good foods. We don't want them to be overweight, but how can we expect them to do that if we're not actually getting them involved in the whole process of it? If they're not seeing a raw carrot or raw mushrooms and seeing the process of them being cooked and then us enjoying eating them, I just think that they aren't going to be as interested if there's no sort of fun in it. I try to get like little mini bowls or little plastic bowls of things and plastic spoons, and I will try and prepare my ingredients already, and then I have a few set aside for him to actually just play with, so perhaps not actually eat or use, but he can just play with his plastic knife cutting them, and he finds it so fun, and it really does get him a lot more interested in the food, and it gets him just nibbling and trying things. So my next tip is to not stress, and I found this tip the hardest to take on board, but I am really trying. There are days where I do get really stressed, to the point where I will cry. Like, it makes me so upset, because I just think, what have I done wrong? Why does my son not want to eat the foods that I want to eat, or the foods that I'm giving him? I'm not giving him anything too exotic. Why will he not eat it? He eats it as child-minded, and sometimes I felt like it reflected on my parenting. And then I took a step back, I went on Google, I went on YouTube, and I realised that I am really not alone, and I'm not a bad parent. In fact, I'm a good parent, because I'm trying to do everything in my power to get him to eat healthy, nutritious food. I also took a look at my son, and he is totally a normal weight. He's quite tiny, but I'm quite tiny, Scott's quite tiny, but he's a normal weight, he's a normal colour, his teeth haven't fallen out, and what I'm trying to say is he is healthy pretty much, and so I'm obviously doing something right. He's obviously getting what he needs for the day, and I just think that if I keep persevering, then hopefully it will pay off. So that just brings me on to my last tip, and that is do not give in. It's so easy to give in and take that plate of fish and rice away and saying, here you go, have some cheese on toast, or some peanut butter on toast, or have a yogurt. If I could give you any advice, try not to give in, because if you give in, the next time it happens, they will just cry and cry and cry and you'll give in, or they'll cry and cry and cry and you won't want to give in, but they know that you've given in before, so you're just not really doing yourself any favours. Try not to give an alternative meal. They're not going to starve. If a child is hungry, he will eat. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to tell you to starve your children, but I just think if you're going to keep giving in, then there really is no point in starting the whole thing in the first place. So I really hope those tips and pieces of advice help you out. We have found them amazing so far. Like I said, Harry isn't sitting there eating prawns and avocado and salad, but he is trying new things very slowly, and I'm seeing a lot of improvement in the way he behaves around food. So I really hope that you have some success with this as well. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other tips for fussy eaters. I am always on board for a new tip and a new way to get my child to eat anything other than beige food. So let me know in the comments below if you've done any fussy eating videos. I'd love to watch them. As always, I'd love it if you subscribe to my channel. I am at 4,500 I think, and I'm really trying to get to 5,000 in the next few weeks, so I would love it if you subscribed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!